Hey everyone, this is Gerry again with ATS. I do hope this finds you blessed today, and I hope you'll allow me to bless you even more as we go on. What kind of energy are you putting on it? I know you've heard this phrase before. What kind of energy are you putting on it? Well, people refer to this kind of thing all the time. Are you surrounding yourself with positive energy, they might ask? Or stay away from him or her. They're just full of negative energy and you don't need any of that. Well, what might be a better question is what kind of direction are you putting on your energy? Do you believe in God? Do you? I do. Do you believe there are inherently scientific laws that govern the universe? Now, I'm not talking about religiosity here. And for these discussions, I'm not going to focus on your belief in spirituality and what happens after this life, but let's focus on the physical nature of your beliefs, the physical natures of what we deal with day in and day out. However, please, I do want you to understand these are consistent with the science that's put forth in all of your sacred text. Believe it. Whether you want to accept that or not is going to be up to you. So let's talk about scientific law for just a moment. The laws of nature, as we call them. Stanford Encyclopedia says, science includes many principles thought to be laws of nature. Newton's law of gravitation, his 3 laws of motion, the ideal gas laws, Mendel's laws, the laws of supply and demand, and so on and so forth. Other regularities important in science were not thought to have this kind of a status, so they're not called laws. But these are consistent and provably demonstrative, the laws of nature. Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity. This expresses the fact that mass and energy are the same physical entity and they can be changed into each other. Understand that. What Einstein was saying was that mass could be turned into energy and energy can be converted into mass. E equals mc squared. E equals mc squared. The definition. If you look in the dictionary, dictionary.com is where I took this, we are all familiar with this formula, but we don't necessarily get its significance. E equals mc squared is an equation derived by the 20th century physicist Albert Einstein, in which E represents units of energy, m represents units of mass, and c squared is simply the speed of light squared, or multiplied by itself. E equals mc squared. What I want you to understand is Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity expresses the fact that mass and energy are the same physical entity and can be changed into each other. Everything we have that we're consciously aware of is made of the exact same energy. Got that? Including your shoes, the desk you're using, the lamp on that desk, electricity, and yes, even our thoughts. In fact, your thoughts may actually have more energy than those things in our physical world of understanding, these other physical things we talk about. In fact, the first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or energy cannot be destroyed, but rather, energy can only be transformed from one form to another. Now, I don't want to make this a science class, but please take note that nowhere in science do we see a distinction of different types of energy. Sure, we talk about wind or solar or even fossil fuel, nuclear power as energy, but these are only categories of the same energy. According to accepted scientific law, all energy is made up of the very same thing. Now, you're going to hear people talk about positive versus negative energy. The truth is, there's no such thing as that kind of a distinction. This is something we made up. I don't know, maybe we wanted to make ourselves feel better about what seems sometimes like a lack of control. That's right, energy is just energy. And I'll say it again, so take this in. There is no such thing as positive energy or negative energy. Once you understand that all material things, everything we can conceive, is made of the same stuff, it starts making a little more sense. So let's go back to late 1800s, early 1900s. Wallace Wattles. Wallace was an author and an early thought leader in the field of emotion and thought energy. Wallace wrote a number of pieces of work. One, The Science of Being Great. And in the preface for that book, he writes this: "This book is pragmatical, not philosophical. It's a practical manual, not a treatise upon theories. It is intended for the men and women whose most pressing need is for money, whose wish to get rich first and philosophize afterwards." Wallace Wattles was born in 1860 and he died in 1911. But he was a very well-known American author. He was from Illinois and became a big part of the New Thought movement in that era. Wallace wrote, "Any person can become great. There is a principle of power within every person." Again, we're talking about these laws of nature. "By the intelligent use and direction of this principle, man can develop his own mental faculties. Man has an inherent power by which he may grow in whatsoever direction he pleases, and there doesn't appear to be any limit to the possibilities of this growth. No man has yet become so great in any faculty but that it's possible for someone else to become greater. The possibility is in the original substance, the energy from which man is made. Genius is omniscience flowing into man." Genius is omniscience flowing into man. So genius is more than talent. Talent may merely be one faculty developed out of proportion to other faculties, but genius is the union of man and God in the acts of the soul. Great men are always greater than their deeds. They are in connection with a reserve of power that is literally without limits. Without limit. We don't know where the boundary of the mental powers of man is. We don't even know if there is a boundary. Look at what we've accomplished in this century, leading up to this century. The power of conscious growth is not given to lower animals. It is man's alone and may be developed and increased by him. The lower animals can, to a great extent, they can be trained and developed by man, but man can train and develop himself. He alone has that power. You alone have that power. And you have that power in an apparently unlimited extent. Now, the purpose of life for man is growth. Just as the purpose of life for the trees and plants is growth. Trees and plants grow automatically and along fixed lines, but man can grow as he wills. Trees and plants can only develop certain possibilities and characteristics that are ingrained within them. Man can develop any power which is or has been shown by any person anywhere at any time. Nothing that is possible in the spirit is impossible in the flesh and blood. Nothing that man can think is impossible in action. Nothing that man can imagine is impossible of realization in the physical. Man is formed for growth. He is under the very necessity of growth by his being. It is essential to his happiness that he should continuously advance as he grows. Life without progress becomes unendurable, and the person who ceases from growth must either become imbecile or insane. There is no status quo. You are either growing or you're going backwards. The greater and more harmonious and well-rounded that growth is, the happy and the happier the man will be. There is no possibility in any man that is not in every man. But if they proceed naturally, no two men will grow into the same thing or be alike. That's true too. Every man comes into the world with a predisposition to grow along certain lines, and his growth is easier for him along those lines than in any other way. This is a wise provision because it certainly gives endless variety. It's as if a gardener should throw all his bulbs into one basket. To the superficial observer, they may observe that they would all look alike, but growth reveals a tremendous difference. So the same thing of men and women. They're like a basket of bulbs. One may be a rose and add brightness and color to a dark corner of the world. One may be a lily and teach a lesson of love and purity to every single eye that sees it. One may be a climbing vine and hide the rugged outlines of some dark rock in an undisclosed location. One may even be a great oak among whose boughs the birds will nest and sing, and beneath whose the shade the flocks will rest at noon. But everyone will be something worthwhile. Everyone will be something rare. And everyone will be something that's just perfect. You know, there are undreamed of possibilities in the common lives of all around us. In a large sense, there are no common people whatsoever. In times of national stress and peril, the cracker box loafer of the corner store of old and the village drunkard could literally become heroes and statesmen through the quickening of the principle of power that's within them. There is a genius. There is a genius in every man and woman waiting to be brought forth. Every village, every city has its great man or woman, someone whom all go to for advice in time of trouble. Someone who the whole community might turn to in times of local crisis. He is tacitly recognized as being great. He does small things even in a great way. He could do great things as well if he does them. Only be careful about doing great things in a small way. The principles of power gives us just what we ask of it. If we only undertake little things, it only gives us power for little things. And as I said, beware of trying to do great things in a lower way. Beware of undertaking what you undertake, because you have the ability to bring it through to reality. There are two mental attitudes that you can take, only two. One makes you like a football. It has a resilience and it reacts strongly when force is applied to it. But it originates nothing. It never acts of itself. There is no power within it. People like this are controlled by their environment and by their circumstances. Their destinies are decided by things that are totally external to themselves. The principle of power within them is never really active at all. They never speak or act from within. Now, the other attitude makes a man or a woman like a flowing spring. Literally, the power comes out of us. It comes out of you from the center. They have nothing within them that is not powerful. They have within them a well of water springing up into everlasting life. They radiate force, and this force is felt by your environment all around you. The water springing up into everlasting life. The principle of power in them is in constant action. This person is self-active. He has life in himself. No greater good can come to any man or woman than to become self-active, to compel them to cease being creatures of circumstances and master their environment. In his lowest stage, man is the child of chance, the child of circumstance, and the slave of fear. His acts are all reactions resulting from the impingement upon him of forces that are in his environment. He acts only as he is acted upon. He doesn't originate anything. Let's put it that way. But the lowest savage has within him a principle of power sufficient to master all that he fears. And if he learns this and becomes self-active, he becomes as one of the gods. The awakening of the principle of power in man is the real conversion, the passing from death to life, literally. It is when the dead hear the voice of the Son of Man and come forth and live. It is the resurrection and it is the life. When it is awakened, man becomes a son of the highest, and all power is given to him in heaven and here on earth. Nothing was ever in any man that is not in you. No man ever had more spiritual or mental power than you can attain. Or no man has ever done greater things than you can accomplish if you set your mind to it. You can become what you want to be, but you've got to invoke the principle of power within you. Seemingly, the difference lies in your perception and in your ability to direct your will or your thought energy, or what you might call it, your free will. Look, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. I would never do that. That's your decision, and what I want you to take away from this is that you, each and every one of us, is way more powerful than we know or we permit ourselves to even understand. A lot of this is to do with our programming, both individually and as a collective society. I want to help you understand that within you is this power we speak of. Within you resides that which is God, the universe, or whatever definition you might want to put on it. Whatever you want to call it, within you is the power to manifest this universal energy. Universal energy. Within you resides that which is God. Think about that. Now, this is not philosophy. This is literally scientific. This is natural law. Within you is the power to manifest this universal energy and to create your physical surroundings. With this now, of course, comes a gigantic potential and a tremendous responsibility. Responsibility comes from the Latin, and it literally refers to the ability to respond. The ability to respond to your environment and circumstances. So let's take it all the way back to the beginning here. Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity expresses the fact that mass and energy are literally the same physical entity. They're the same thing, folks, and they can be changed from one into each other. I challenge you right now to take responsibility for what you do with your energy. Protect it, nurture it, and guide it into your ultimate purpose, and watch it change the world around you. Don't try to avoid the energy because of its misconstrued thought that it might be negative. Ask yourself, how will I respond to the energy that is in and around me and is in literally my existence? And what can I do today to manifest my true purpose in this physical world that I'm in? Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you may have now. That's from Napoleon Hill. Now, I hope you enjoy this, and more so, I hope I gave you something tangible that you can put to use today in your life to make it seem maybe a little less confusing and a little more satisfying. Do me a favor, leave a comment. I really do want to hear from you. And follow me on social media at Gerry E. Potter on Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you'll know when we drop something new, okay? This also helps keep us in tune with the algorithms. For today, have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.